Okay, hello everyone. Nice to see so many familiar faces again. I would like to present the Explore and Discover track, and I'm glad to see that I have exactly 11 minutes left. So I'll try to show you some nice things and tell you some nice things. So what I would like to start off is that the problem we now have is no longer that we're unable to find what we want or that we are unable to find enough. With almost every query we do, everywhere we go, there is too much information. So it's actually how we contextualize this information or how we actually present it that becomes our real problem and no longer finding it. I also would like to make the distinction between search and browse. So at least I'm of the opinion that when you search for something, you're at least already aware of what you want to find. You're able to at least determine if it's relevant to your query and process accordingly, whereas browsing is actually something else. It's you start somewhere and you can take different pathways, you can find new ways, so it's much more likely that you are amazed that you find new things when you're browsing rather than searching, because searching actually limits you. You already start by limiting yourselves instead of opening the context, and also allows you to much more see different things which you actually didn't know existed before. So the second part, and that's, I think we have a problem in almost nearly every cultural heritage website, which is we have a nice index page, we show some things, we have a search page with a summary, and then we go to a full view, and then it stops. I mean, so often I come to a website and then think, and now what? How can I contribute? How can I do something with this information that makes me want to come back? So what I think is the missing link in here is that we need to engage the user in able to show their views, to be able to reorganize the data to a context which they're relevant, to annotate it, and also to be able to collaborate in groups where 3 or 4 or however many people are able to work together and actually create these new contexts of information on the object we already have. If you go to Europeana or any other aggregator, it's just a huge set of objects, and there's really no context, and it's difficult to get there. The other point which I often find missing, and I wanted to explain here, is that how do we actually define the success of a cultural heritage website, right? When does a user come, do we actually say this was successful? We use metrics like users, queries, return visitors, but this actually says very little about effective utilization of a website or how well did the visit of the user match up with what we try to communicate. And a small subsection of this, which is often ignored, is that we are all highly educated people, right? We can have a discussion about nearly everything with everyone here in the room. But most of the people we cater for don't have this contextual knowledge, right? We take so many things for granted that we know or that we've learned, which most people that you talk in the street don't know. So if we want to be successful in really pulling them in, showing something and engaging, we need to show ways of contextualizing this information, allowing them themselves to contextualize the information and be able to link out, to give ideas, who is Napoleon, what is a particular time frame. And I think we can learn from web stores. Web stores have a really clear point where there's a conversion, right? They can say when someone clicks on an object and buys it, that's where we have a conversion point. That's when it is a success. And I think we have, in search page, cultural heritage websites can do very similar things. We can actually say when a user comes, he searches on something, he finds something, when he contributes back, that is a success. When he searches on something and starts browsing off into all kind of different pathways and finding new things, that is a success. When he actually starts recommending things or collaborating with other people, it's a success as well. So defining these success points for what we're doing and how well it meets our goal is quite important. So everyone who isn't paying attention, please look at this slide because I found it insanely funny. So we have the business model of free, and many people say that what Google is doing, Google is actually breaking many companies because they give things cheaper than free, right? I will repeat that, cheaper than free, because they deliver Gmail or Google Docs or anything better than anyone else can, and they do it free, right? And this Facebook thing is the other important thing, so I can just read it like, two pigs are saying to it, isn't it great? We have to pay nothing for this bar. And the other one said, yeah, and even the food is free. So the key here is, if you're not paying for it and you're not the customer, you're the product that's being sold, right? And This is okay for Facebook and other things, but I don't think it's where we need to aim for. So I should have twisted these slides around. So I think what we want to do and what we want to discuss in this track is that access triumphs ownership, right? To give access to things, to allow to reuse is more important than owning things. Second point, every view on the world, even the ones you agree with, or maybe especially the ones you disagree with, add value. And this is something we need to facilitate. All these different things, all the different views on things which we thought were completely one-dimensional need to be shown. And one of the things, this is a very famous saying, is that history is written by the victors, right? So what we see in history, what we see in culture is what the people that decided it made it. And being able to have user-generated content, the labeling, but especially the recontextualizing and storytelling allows people to share these different views. And that's why I think personally, and I hope most of you agree with me, is that user-generated context is so much more important than the content they are delivering, the rethinking their ideas. So this is, I live in The Hague, and they have a lot of very funny stickers everywhere, and I like this as an idea of taking some things, adding some text, and I will translate for people that don't know Dutch what it means. So the top one is a camera, and beneath it, it says freedom. So if we have cameras, that's freedom. And there is a bomb, and that means peace. So as long as we have bombs, there will be peace. And the last one is television is knowledge. And I found this so evocative of many things which I believe are wrong and where we need to fight against. So this is my last slide. Making the web flat again. I think this is important, or Europeana can play an absolutely crucial role. I trust most of you have seen the internet bubbles or the filter bubbles talk. It's a TED talk by Eli Pariser. If you haven't, watch it. It will change many of the ways you interact with the web. But the general idea is that Google search engine, when you type in a query, it will expand with 74 different indicators. It's your IP address, it's your previous history, it's the countries, that they try to have all these things together to determine what you want to see. So the idea that everyone who types in something in Google gets the exact same result is absolutely untrue. So they have algorithms and they determine what's relevant for you. And that's in Facebook as well, that everywhere where you go, they try to determine already what you see. Same for Google News. If you go from one country to another and take some current event, in some countries it's just simply not visible. What he shows in his talk is the Egyptian revolution, where if you were in Egypt or some countries, it was nowhere to be found, whereas the other ones, it was the crucial ones. So these are my last points. So I think Europeana has the chance to be a platform for unfiltered access to cultural knowledge. So no moderation, to give all these different views really a place to shine. Second one, unbiased sharings of views for everyone. So creating these new contexts, doing storytelling. And unbiased means that we're not going to say what's right or wrong. For example, if someone wants to take objects in Europeana and create a history of genocide through the ages in Europe, right? Many people will be offended. Many people won't like the way some objects might be presented. But this is a valid view, right? What's for some people is genocide is a victory, a normal victory for someone else. And we would like to see both views presented here. Also, the way we can use visualization, I think, to be able to show people what is there without having to search. Another problem, a slide which I removed, but I will quickly go into because I have some time left. Wow, now I completely lost my thread. Come back to that later. So when you come to a database, one of the biggest problems is you have no idea if the data which is in there will be able to answer your question. And we have so many data sources out there, so many search engines, and wouldn't it be great if we can at least visualize that there is a likelihood that your question or your information need can be answered in this database before you query? Because take, for example, archives. It is very difficult to find things there, and if you know your town that you're looking for in that time frame is nowhere in the database, you don't even have to see. Okay, perfect. Okay, and focus on expanding the context of the user. So this is what I came back earlier. Everyone has this different contextual knowledge, and we need to facilitate that and to actually allow people to show these different views. So who are the speakers that are going to show you nice things about this and make you rethink. Our keynote speaker is Sylvia Mix. It's about visual analytics. Robert Engels will will talk about how practical semantics is really useful for gathering this contextual information. Finally, Rolf Stockman from the Europeana Connect project will show Europeana 4D. So again, showing how different trends, how events, things can be linked together and shown in 4D to actually, again, show different context. And after the coffee, we have David Nicholas with Culture on the Go from UCLC, and Maria Geda, which will show something about the log analysis in Europeana and actually how we have multilingual usage and quite some surprising trends in that. And finally, and that's different than what is on the program, is we have a panel discussion with breakout session. Because I think we have the great opportunity here in this track to actually discuss together, think outside the box, think about new ways we want to interact with all of these, and feed that into the Europeana version 2 project. So the real outcomes of this track will really feed into what is taking Europeana to the next step. So the intended outcome, fun discussion, and that's basically it. So finally, we're at Auditorium tomorrow, 9 to 1. Please come, please join, and especially everyone who completely disagrees with everything I said, come tomorrow and have a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Right.